Yo, what's good everybody? Today, I've decided to share a few sniper tips that I've learned over the past 8 months of playing this game competitively. Some of these you may already be familiar with, others I'm sure you might not know, and will help you become a better sniper almost immediately. So be sure to stick around for the whole video, and if you like it, make sure to leave a rating, subscribe, and without further ado, let's hop right in.
Which is going to come out on top. The bomb is down, and Morocco with another wallbang.
The guy's a lunatic!
Alright, so for the first tip that I'm going to share for you guys, going to have to do with how to peek. And there's many ways to peek, including slides, jumps, prone glitches, all of that. First example I can give you guys is the slide peek. So when you want to slide peek, this is typically a peeking method that you'll use whenever you want to get control of a long angle. Like, say if a sniper is hard scoping, for example on firing range, you know, we're here on the T side, and we need to get a pick or something, and the CT sniper is somewhere in like armory or like mid, just hard scoping. The slide peek is the best way that you can peek the sniper and get the first blood. So yeah, that's this is typically a peeking method that I'll use, especially when I know someone is holding a certain angle. I could even use this, for example, at jungle, if there's someone at the back of the map there, like back there, just slide peek, you know, and you get the shot off quickly. This is especially a good peeking method because it's so quick. Like, there's a lot of desync in this game and just ping issues. So a slide will give you the advantage that you need to see someone before they can see you. And they won't be able to react to you if you're able to execute the slide shot fast enough. So yeah, jump peeking is the next one that I can show you guys. It's jump peeking is something that I'll use on an angle that I'm not sure if someone is hard scoping. Like, it's like a 50-50 peek where I'm able to jump and get a more accurate shot off than a slide peek. Because sliding, it's more difficult to get that shot that you want. But with the jump, it's simpler to just sort of come around a corner, and at least you have some sort of movement to your peek. Yeah, like, you never want to just walk around a corner, especially with the sniper, if you're in a sniper battle, because this is just I mean, it's very easy to just hard scope someone who's walking around a corner and, you know, get the easy frag off of them. So yeah. Always include some sort of movement in the way you're peeking. Now, the last sort of peeking method that I can give you guys is called the prone glitch, which it's not really as useful anymore with the new update. But nowadays, or at least before, what you could do is just prone and stand up quickly to get the peeker's advantage on someone and get the shot off immediately. Now it's still pretty useful to be able to do something like this, to like sort of prone behind some cover, or even like crouch behind some cover and then just stand up to see them. Like, say that I want to get someone that's an armory on the head glitch there, I'll just sort of crouch up a little bit from the prone and be able to get a shot off. Or even at the barrels, you know, any of those spots. There's multiple places where that can be useful, even behind cars in some instances. Which, I mean, I'm always scared of sitting behind cars because of like rockets and stuff, but I mean, this is always good if they don't know that you're there, just to sort of prone up and down, you know, see where they're at, maybe get a shot off if you're lucky. Even with like the mid sandbags here, this is a good prone peak spot. But anyways, yeah, that's really it for like just peeking methods. Yeah, we'll just go on to the next tip then. Alright, so the next tip that I have for you guys has to do with hard scoping. And hard scoping, now a lot of people in Call of Duty, especially like just console CODs and other stuff, will say that hard scoping is, you know, for wussies. It's like, oh, like you're hard scoping this, like why can't you just quick scope it? Like, the thing with hard scoping is that it's useful for holding down an angle. Like I was saying with the like, say if you had someone that was armory, hard scoping down mid, and the first tip, see, it's not bad to sort of sit in the scope like this, especially if you're trying to play strategically and avoid being first blooded. You don't want to just sit watching an angle like this. Like, you never want to give the enemies an advantage that they don't need. Like, you always want to be playing with the upper hand. So hardscope is very useful. I personally, when I'm playing on defense side of firing range S&D, I'll come into armory, hardscope here, and just try to take a jump shot in the armory. But yeah, this is like, hardscoping is just a useful thing to hold an angle down, especially like a cross angle. Like, if you're holding something like barrels down here and the enemies on the offensive side are pushing A long, just hardscoping this angle or like this and waiting for them to cross over is a great way to get a pick and to give your team the man advantage they need to secure the round. So yeah, one thing I will say, like a bad hardscoper, what they will do is they will be very tunnel visioned on one specific angle and not be aware of their surroundings, in terms of, like, say that someone is hardscoping middle, you know, on this barrel head glitch. It's a nice spot too. Like, this is great, but you can't just hardscope armory because there could be someone coming from there, from this spot, or even from top 10 you can also be spotted. Like, if there's a sniper that's hardscoping from the top there. It's always good to keep in mind your surroundings when hardscoping. Like, I personally never hardscope for more than like 5 seconds at most, unless I'm like waiting for someone to peek. Like, I know, like, for example, someone's in trailer, you know, they're behind the little wooden thing there. Unless I'm sure that they're going to peek, I won't hardscope this for more than like 3 to 4 seconds, 5 seconds. Like, it's just not worth it, because you're risking too much with hardscoping one angle by exposing yourself to other angles of attack. So yeah, that's just my general tip for hardscoping. So for the next tip, I will show you guys a few sniper positions and what I look for in just general sniper positioning. So the most important thing that I'll say for a sniper's position is to base yourself around where the enemies are positioned and what angles your teammates are holding, especially in search. This is also useful for respawn sniping, which I'll probably get into a little bit later in the video. But the general thing for especially search and destroy sniping is to challenge angles and hold angles that your gunner teammates cannot hold. Like, for example, mid on firing range. You know, it's a very long angle that you could hold with the gun, but it's just much more preferable to use a sniper in this situation. You know, if you want to challenge an enemy sniper as well, you know, it's important that you have this sort of positioning in mind, so that you can catch your opponent off guard, or, you know, hold a head glitch that is going to be hard for them to kill you off of, but that you have the advantage of seeing it full body on. So yeah, anyways, let's get into like actual positions. One thing I'll say is that the positions you want to hold are never going to be close quarters with a sniper, which should be obvious, but a lot of people will tend to be, especially like very aggressive snipers, will tend to hold angles that are just super close quarters and don't make much sense to hold. For example, like, I mean, trailer inside of on this firing range map, like, this is, it's an angle that you can use to sort of like slide into maybe and get a pick at. Like, especially if you're like retaking the A bomb site after the bomb has been planted and there's some people in trailer, you just slide in, look for the kill there. You know, especially if you're very skilled in this instant sniping like that. But I just don't recommend holding close angles all the time, because that's not playing to the strength of your weapon. The strength of your weapon is to hold a long angle like barrels. You know, you watch mid, you see A long, or even armory, which is essentially just another more secure version of barrels, in my opinion. It's, you know, you get vision of mid, of A long on this little jump up here. Just all of this stuff, or even tin. Tin is a pretty good spot for the snipers. There's even one spot that I might use on B bomb site, which is pretty useful. There's my ult account there. Which is, after placing a trophy, you hop on top of this car, and you can see sort of belong on, yeah. But this is the general positions, and like the one thing they share in common is obviously the length of the angle you're watching, and the distance that you have between yourself and an oncoming attacker. So, like an angle like this on the B site is good, but it's also kind of risky to the point where you can hold it, but if you get smoked off, it's important for you to back away as soon as you can to like tires, and hope that your team will come support you. There's like several angles that you can hold that are also more aggressive than that, like over here by sandbags, even like on this spot, or even underneath tower on this little platform to watch mid, and they're crossing into trailer. But yeah, I mean, the idea is to just be secure with all your angles and not hold anything that will lead you to be killed by a red gunner, especially, because that's, I mean, if your team is holding all the angles they need to, unless of course they like push through, one of your teammates dies and you know, that angle's no longer covered and pushed, like that stuff can happen too. But you want to prevent it from happening as like a first blood, you know, like you don't want to let yourself be in trailer, you know, and then there's like 3 people that push trailer, you die. Like it's just a silly death to give, and too risky in my opinion. So yeah, that's my general rule for positioning. Okay, so for this next tip, I've actually turned the opacity up on my joystick so that you guys can see sort of what I'm doing with this. This is something I like to call the sprint cancel, which is useful to actually every class of guns, but especially useful to the sniper rifles. So a mechanic in this game that has to do with ADS time on snipers is whether or not you're sprinting. So if you sprint and then scope in, the ADS time is much slower than if you were just standing still and scoping in. And you can sort of notice the difference there. So what I like to do when I'm peeking an angle is to do something called the sprint cancel. So you can do this while sliding, while even just straight up sprinting. In other words, you basically cancel the momentum of whatever movement you're doing. So like if I'm sliding out into middle, my joystick, once my momentum is going in the direction of the slide, my joystick will go in the opposite direction. You can sort of see it if you pay attention to that there. In that way. So that the scope in time, the scope in animation is the same as it would be as if I was standing still and just scoped in, instead of while just sprinting like this, which is obviously much slower. So yeah, that's just another little tip to give you guys an advantage in a sniper gunfight, or even any gunfight in general. Just yeah, sprint canceling. It's pretty useful. It takes a bit of practice, I'll admit, but after you practice it enough, it's a very, very, very good way to be aggressive with a sniper, especially. So yeah, that's it for sprint cancel. Alright, so for this last tip, I've actually hopped into an actual game. I mean, it's just a pub match, but my last tip is going to have to do with aggressive sniping and crosshair placement. Oops. So I'm sure you guys have heard this plenty of times. The best thing with sniping is to do with crosshair placement. You gotta have your crosshair at chest height type of thing, and you know, that sort of thing. It's a very important thing that not a lot of people are able to master. Crosshair placement is in COD Mobile. It's a little bit different than it is in other games. For example, in a game like CS:GO or the PC shooter, you know, there's not as much movement. Like there's no slides, there's no like slide jumps and stuff. Like there's no prone. So like crosshair placement with COD Mobile is more complicated in the sense that you have to make sure your crosshair is placed in a way that it sort of anticipates your movement. So like if you know you're sliding a corner, you know, you want to pre-aim barrels, right, like around this corner, you slide out, and now you're pre-aiming barrels. But it's a question of knowing where to have your crosshair at and getting used to what your movement does to your crosshair. So, like, I mean, I've just played the game so long that, I mean, I've gotten used to that sort of thing. But if you're newer to the game and you just want to get better with sniping sort of thing, then yeah, I mean, just sort of practice this stuff, like, you know, where, like, go around corners, you know, try to make your crosshair land where you want it to, you know. Try to make yourself make it feel as natural as possible to actually put your crosshair where it has to go, you know. It has to feel as smooth as possible before you can move on to more complicated stuff with sniping, you know. Like, and you can also work on this in, like, the training room, for example, or just against bots and pubs type of thing. Just like maybe hold your crosshair, or even on like a teammate, you know, hold your crosshair on them, try to follow them around. Just sort of basic stuff that I'm sure you've already heard 1,000 times in other sniper tips videos, but it's just so important that I had to include it in this. You know, it's one of the biggest tips that I can give you. Yeah, I mean, just sort of follow around, add some movement to it, try to follow. You know, just get used to your sensitivity, and yeah, I mean, you know, point your gun where you want to shoot. That's you know, as good of a tip as I can give you. So yeah, and anyways, just to end off the video, I'll give you guys a little bit of gameplay, showcasing all of these tips, you know, some aggressive sniping in ranked. I hope you guys enjoy that. But yeah, in the meantime, like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.
Targets in sight. I'm doing big. Recon standing by. UAV recon is standing by. Capture UAV. Friendly shock RC is ready. Missile awaiting orders. I'ma pull up for the weekend. UAV online. Friendly shock RC is coming. Enemy taking Bravo. Our UAV has been destroyed. Got Gucci lipstick. I never had a bitch that hang out with the rich kids. She bout her business. I'm doing big shit. I never thought that I'd be fucking with a rich bitch. Friendly predator. Hang out with the rich kids. She bout her business. I'm doing big shit. Enemy contact. I'm down. Trip you down, give you kisses, change your main nigga misses. I can't change for the riches. Drip, drip, I got Gucci fits. On my pants and plus my toes, it cost me $6. Reloading. Rich kids, but now we on the just like a lipstick. Flip, flip, got Gucci lipstick. I never had a bitch. I'm doing this shit. I never thought that I'd be fucking with a rich bitch. Flip, flip, Gucci lipstick. I never had a bitch that hang out. Enemy in sight. Friendly care package in. Got Gucci lipstick. I never had a bitch that hang out with the rich kids. I never thought that I'd be fucking with a rich bitch. I go down, body in the morning. Hit it from the back, I'm doing 50 in the corner. Enemy in sight! Fuck you thinking. UAV has been destroyed. With my gang, we be geeking. Are you so conceited? We gon' fuck so we see. Red bottoms on her feet and they bleed. Flip, flip, got Gucci lipstick. I never had a bitch that hang out with the rich kids. She bout her business, I'm doing big shit. I never thought that I'd be fucking with a rich bitch. Flip, flip, got Gucci lipstick. I never had a bitch that hang out with the rich kids. She bout her business, I'm doing big shit. I never thought that I'd be fucking with a rich bitch. I'm a ball on the limit, designer edition shit. Bitches ran up all of them digits, drew down, give you kisses, change your main name to Miss misses, I can't change for the riches. Drip, drip, I got Gucci fix, bitch. Dior on my pants and plus my toes, it cost me 6 bricks. We wasn't rich,
Target's in sight.
Behind my name, my brother, so I just like a lipstick. Flip, flip, got Gucci lipstick. Got Gucci lipstick. I never had a bitch that hang out with the rich kids. She about her business, I'm doing big shit. I never thought that I'd be fucking with a rich bitch.
Capturing A, enemy taking C.
I never thought that I'd be fucking with a rich
Enemy has
bitch.
C. We've taken the
I
lead.
never thought that I'd be fucking with a rich bitch.
Hostile care package inbound.
Get down, sniper!
I never had a bitch that hang out with the rich kids. She about her business, I'm doing big shit. I never thought that I'd be fucking with a rich bitch. I go down on her body in the morning. Hit it from the back, I'm doing 50 in the foreign. One sounded Fendi, designer dripping, no Ralph Lauren. You was my shawty, but now I'm playing, I'm ignoring. Like fuck you thinking, I'ma pull up for the weekend. With my gang, we be geeking. Girl, you so conceited. We gon' fuck till we cease it. Red bottoms on the feet and they bleeding. Flip, flip, got Gucci lipstick. I never had a bitch that hang out with the rich kids.
Look out! He's back up!
Flip, flip, got Gucci lipstick. I never had a bitch that hang out with the rich
Sniper!
kids. She about her business, I'm doing big shit. I never thought that I'd be fucking with a rich bitch. I'm a ball on no limit, designer mission shit. Caught in a minute, I can't stop for no bitches. Ran a ball on them bitches. Down
UAV has been destroyed.
the misses, I can't change for the riches.
Sentry capturing C. Enemy airstrike incoming. Be careful. Friendly stealth chopper. Friendly airstrike incoming. This is one Goliath is coming. Hostiles have destroyed your sentry. Losing Bravo. Friendly Princess one Goliath is landing.
Target's in sight!
Spotted.
I'm doing big shit. I never thought that I'd be fucking with
I'm down!
I never thought that I'd be fucking with a rich bitch. Flip, flip, got Gucci lipstick. I never had a bitch that hang out with the rich kids. She about her business, I'm doing big shit. I never thought that I'd be fucking with a rich bitch. I go down on her body in the morning. Hit it from the back, I'm
We're almost there. Keep it up.
Enemy in sight!
All positions locked down. Hold your positions. Capture Charlie. Our Nexus 1 Goliath has been destroyed. Losing Charlie.
Rich bitch. I go down on her body in the morning. Hit it from the back, I'm doing 50 in the foreign. Bust down in Fendi, designer dripping, no Ralph Lauren. You was my shawty, but now I'm playing, I'm ignoring. Like fuck you thinking, I'ma pull up for the